Hello, thank you so much for watching to the... Sorry, let me do it again. Hello, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. This is the Sashiko Live, Thursday night Sashiko Live, where I stitch and I will talk about Sashiko story. I did bring some of the topic or theme to talk about, but if you have any questions or any request to talk about, please let me know. This is not a lecture, this is not a tutorial, so I'm not going to talk about anything technical, to be fair with everybody else, but if it's the cultural question, I will try my best to answer that. Let me check the audio. I received several requests to increase the volume, so please let me know if it's too much. I changed the microphone and also if it's too loud, let me know. All right, I will change the... Hello, thank you so much for coming. It's Thursday night. Well, I mean, it's 9 o'clock p.m. in Eastern time. It might be a little bit too early for the people in the West Coast, but try to bring something to drink. Let's get relaxed and then we can probably start talking about something. Okay, I will move the camera. I will move the camera to where they were. Yep. Well, I'm learning little by little. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, I had a good day, thank you. Well, it's just ordinary day. I mean, today was my birthday, as I kind of mentioned everywhere, but I kind of don't prefer to make the birthday something special. Ever since I was, let's say, teenager, I remember enjoying the birthday when I was a child, but ever since I was a teenager, I remember that I did not want to celebrate my birthday. You know, I was kind of difficult person, I guess. But it continues to today too. So, I mean, I'm really, thank you so much for the birthday comment. But it's kind of weird for me. It's my personal, honest feeling that celebrating birthday is a little strange. I think I'm messed up. I'm from the messed up family, and it's kind of weird. I don't know if I can even explain that feeling, but it's very, very weird. Thank you. Whether you like it or not, that's the way to go. I guess that's because when I was a child, when I was a teenager, I had those days that I wish that I wouldn't be born in this life. Everybody goes through those moments, and I thought I had been through those moments a little bit longer than the usual people. So that's probably the way it is. And ever since, I kind of feel really strange to... Oh, of course, I say, happy birthday to the other people, and of course I do it for my daughter, for sure. But it's my honest feeling, and thank you so much, though. I appreciate that. I find it gets weirder. Okay, it's gonna be more weird, probably so. But I, you may be surprised, but I used to be kind of upset. I didn't show it to anybody, and it's not okay to do that. But to somebody who I can express myself honestly, like my wife, I used to ask her to not to celebrate it. Like I specifically asked her to make it a day like the ordinary day. But she of course tried to celebrate, and I got really angry at some point, which is very messed up. But as I get older, like today, I realize that today is not the day to really celebrate my birth. It's just the day to appreciate or even remember those people who helped me to be here. And I sometimes get caught up. I sometimes get caught up to many difficulties, and I start kind of giving up things. But I just realized that I am not doing this for myself only. I don't have any employees right now. I don't have anybody to carry right now. But at the same time, I am not stitching only for myself. I am enjoying Sashiko stitching for myself, and this is my thing. So I am not really. This is very personal. At the same time, by sharing the stories, I can pay or show my respect to those who had been stitching Sashiko for their life, who are not here right now, who cannot speak up right now because they're already passed away. And even if they're alive, they wouldn't be able to speak up because of many reasons. So I don't know if they want me to talk about or if they wish me to be quiet. I don't really know. They wish to be quiet for themselves. So I don't know if what I'm doing is doing their favor or maybe against their favor. But regardless, I think what I'm doing is not for only myself, and therefore I won't stop. When I write something negative on the Instagram or somewhere that I'm getting very tired, or it's tiring that I always constantly have to be sort of pointing out negative. I don't want to say negative, but pointing out somebody's insufficiency can be very stressful to keep doing that. Especially because there are easier way to get what I would be happy about instantaneously and for the short period of time, which is money. There's a way to make more. There's a way to give me the instant gratitude right next to me, but I choose to not to take that route because I know it's gonna be very short term. I don't want to do that. So it can be very difficult. And when I say something like that, many people worry that I might stop doing what I'm doing right now. I will never ever stop doing what I'm doing. It's gonna be the same today and tomorrow and even 10 years from now. I hope that I don't hope for that. I will be, and I'm sure I will be talking the same thing in the same rhythm. If not, I should stop stitching. So that's kind of big commitment, big statement to make actually, but I would like to make my birthday September 15th as the day to confirm, to make sure that I'm not off the route. So I hope you can come back to this live streaming next September 15th and check if I am a completely different person or not. I have not changed what I'm saying last 4 or 5 years, so I I believe I can go without changing it for another year and another 10 years. But this is the day to remember those people's hand so that I can find myself, find the meaning of keep stitching in my life. I hope it makes sense, but that's how we how we connect our dots, right? There's a dot from my Sashiko artisans. I received that. They cannot, write another dot. So what I do is to connect those things from one to another. I hope I'm doing that. So this channel might be boring for those who are asking for the very instant answer, which I offer on the videos so they can find the answers on the videos, but that's not a whole purpose of that. Sorry, the needle got... My hands are a little dry today. I don't know why it's dry. Dude, don't you like this sound? I really like this fabric sound too. It's not gonna go through the microphone because I focused on my human's voice, but so since last July, 2 months ago, when was the last workshop I had? 2 months ago in July, I had a pretty big workshop in California, Berkeley. Wow, has been 2 months since. Wow. Anyway, after that, I tried to really focus on stitching. I had a great workshop in Pennsylvania once in the middle, in between. But around that, I'm really trying to stitch a lot. And when I stitch, at the same time, I would like to have those gathering. I wanted to make the place to be and to stitch together. So with having help from Maiko-san, I have been offering many kinds of gathering in English, and then I do what I usually do with the Japanese version. It is quite interesting to talk about Sashiko in both languages with understanding their perspectives. I can answer the question there, but either English or Japanese, it can go like almost forever. The English one, actually, we completed the English version of the gathering in 2 hours, but after that, while I was kind of having a meeting with Maiko-san, after that, some Japanese people stay there. We talked almost 4 hours from that. And previous Japanese live streaming was at least, not a Japanese live streaming, the gathering was about 4 hours, 5 hours at total. So we can stitch and talk for a long time. And I would like to share the importance of being able to stitch while talking. It's really important. How to make even stitches is very important too, but more importantly, it is very important for us to be able to stitch without focusing on too much. So talking and stitching is kind of a fundamental, for that matter, to understand what Sashiko is for us. And that's what I teach online too. Many people teach the design or even how to stitch. But my workshop is not really about that. Can you tell us something about what you're stitching? This is I don't even know what it's gonna be. It's the 100-meter Asanoha pattern. I decided to stitch this Asanoha pattern for 100 meters. So I'm doing that. I don't know what it's gonna be. Maybe jacket. Nah, I don't think I'm gonna make a jacket out of it. But this is the part of my for me, Sashiko is not the art. This is gonna be a big discussion, so I'm not gonna do it today again. But for me, Sashiko is not the art. Sashiko is not art. I do not consider Sashiko as the art. And if you are enjoying Sashiko as the art, I have no problem. And I'm okay with that. And I humbly accept your admiration that what we make is art. I appreciate that. I'm not gonna say like I don't like to be called artist. I don't say those things, but I do have a reason why I do not consider Sashiko as the art, and I do not like those who teach Sashiko as the art without knowing those things. So anyway, so that's the baseline. Sashiko is not the art, but at the same time, I think Sashiko can be the art if we interpret it the way we do. And one of the things that I found as the definition of the art as the art is the way to manifest? No, not manifest. To make it happen, to make our philosophy happen in the piece. So if I have a wish, if I have a prayer, if I have something I would like to tell you, the artist make pieces with putting their philosophy in it. So what I'm working on right now is that. It's more like I hope this is gonna be the antithesis to the Western society, but I don't even know if it's gonna be the antithesis. I hope I will be able to explain the little bit more details later on, but I don't know if I should really explain that before I even complete the piece. So as of now, the answer is I still don't know. So when I say I don't know, is not like that I don't know what's gonna be the future. Like it's more like I don't know if this is gonna be completed or not. And I don't know when it's gonna be completed. So, well, let's see. That's another kind of thing. Like, when I do Sashiko stitching, everybody thinks that I'm making something. Why? Is there any rule that we have to make something out of it? And I think that's one contemporary mindset, that when we do something, we have to have a purpose. Yeah, technically speaking, yes. But something can exist without a purpose. Very few, actually, at this age. But probably it's okay to have something without the exact clear reasons to make it happen. Not make it happen, to exist. So explaining that might be the detour to reach to my answer as well. And today's Sashiko is missing those nuance of Japanese culture and something something we are missing. It might be Japanese, or it might be contemporary, it might be the difference of the culture, it might be the difference of generations, it might be difference of, what we have as a condition or environment. But something is missing in the practice of Sashiko. And that's what I'm trying to sort of verbalize, which is very difficult because it was not verbalized before. But I gotta do it. I have to do it. That might be changing little by little. I used to not to think that I had to do that. Before, more like I do it because I want to do it. Now I kind of feel that I'm responsible for this. It's very strange, but the more I talk to the people from both Japan and from the US or from the other countries, many people appreciate what I say. They thank me for sharing the stories and also technique. But I feel bad that I'm not sharing the whole picture yet, which I don't know if I can share in the future. It may require years of students or people to keep listening or keep learning what it is. I wish I could summarize it into one sentence or one book, but it's not that it's not that it's shallow. It's simple and easy, but it's not that shallow. So I don't know how the other people can summarize Sashiko into one book and call it the answer. I don't know anybody who does that in Japanese. I don't know anybody. Like many Japanese people publish book in Japanese about Sashiko, but I don't think anybody said that's the answer for Sashiko, as long as I know. So something's missing, and they appreciate that. And Japanese also, the Japanese people in Japan also thank me for that. So it's like a responsibility. Responsibility is the word for that. I wasn't thinking like that, but maybe that might be something I can do. So yes, what I say might change like that little bit. If I say the exactly same thing I say today in 1 year from now, that's a little creepy. But I hope that the nuance, the center, I hope that I will keep going to the same direction. And today, in September 15th, will be the day to judge it. You can judge me as much as you want. Like, oh no, you're out of the route. You have to check what you're doing. And I need sometimes those, opinions to make sure that I am not out of the... Like, I don't want to just go out of control. Out of control means that changing the priority. I always say that, but if I start advertising the expensive watch on my Instagram, please worry about me. There gotta be something going on. I often receive those DM like, you should advertise this and then I can give you the free watch or whatever, those, the commercial or tie-up campaigns DM, and I almost immediately, without thinking, I just delete them. But if I start doing those things, that's a complete different direction. So if that happens, just stop me, please. Say like, no, that's not what you said. It's difficult. It's very difficult to... Well, actually, it's not that difficult to keep this weight. It just take times, and I cannot expect the instant feedback or instant result. I have to see it in 5 years, 10 years, or even 50 years from now. So when I have to compare myself to others who can focus on the short term, And I get jealous, I get frustrated, I get sad, but that's not really the point here, so that's not the point. When I make a dress and wear it, people will say something or ask if I made it. Same with a handmade hand quilt purse and shopping bag, so few things are handmade. Yeah, I agree. It's not really. Handmade became a choice, and that's a very good thing for the human. Industrial, sorry, machine, sewing machine, any kind of machinery changed our life to the better direction. We don't want to go back to those age without steam or without, we don't want to go back to the age without industrial revolution. And because of that, the handmade became kind of a choice. And but when the population grows in the handmade, there are people who think those group of people as the market to make profit. That's very, very normal thinking process. That's what's going on right now in Sashiko as well. It is perfectly fine to monetize those cultural practice when the culture itself is respected. Culture need money to sustain their shape. At the same time, if somebody with power, here probably the power with English as a language, well, some privilege. I don't like the word privilege too much, but that's because many people think that privileged is sort of the bad thing. It's not either good or bad, it's just the status, it's the condition of what we have and what we don't have. Anyway, when the group of people with power decided to change the culture, that's a little bit of a problem. That's not a little bit, that's a significant problem. But those human activities are normal to find a market to make it sustainable. So handmade became a big trend, big market, big choice we can make. And for those who does not do this hand making, it is very strange and unique place to do unique world society, because we are doing something we technically don't have to. We do it because we like it, because we are proud of something, because there's a purpose for doing it. And I'm saying the importance of no purpose of doing it. God, that's why it's so difficult to explain this in English. Can these two coexist? Yes. We can stitch without the purpose of what we make, while with having the purpose of stitching. That does not make sense, but that's the word. That's the way I would say in Japanese. I'll say that again. In this world, in this society, we kind of tend to imagine or assume that we are making something, right? We are making something. We have to have the purpose to make something when we do things. Sometimes Sashiko does not require that, but when they stitch, they can have the purpose. In Japanese, when I summarize it, it's gonna be, well, there's a purpose, but there's no purpose. So many people get confused. if I directly translate it. But many people probably will, many Japanese will understand what I'm saying. There's no purpose in Sashiko, but there is purpose. that sentence does not make sense at all. 目的はないけど目的はあるんだよね。目的はないけど目的はある。目的はあるけど目的はない。I know how to explain that in Japanese. So I'm not really I'm not being mean. That's not my intention to be mean or to secretive or to hide something from you, or, I just don't know how to connect those dots from Japanese and English. There's so many Japanese words we cannot translate to the English. Of course, there's a vice versa. There are so many English words we cannot explain that in Japanese. But since I'm explaining the Japanese mindset, culture, and philosophy in English, it is very important for us to mention what I can and cannot describe. I still think that we cannot explain wabi-sabi in English. I know there are lots of books about it, and some books are great. But fundamentally, we're to the point, I don't think we can translate it to any other language, or even worse, I don't think we can fully explain or even define what wabi-sabi is, even in Japanese itself. There is a purpose in one dimension, while there may be none in another. That sounds like, yes, very close, very, very, very close. Very, 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 very close, but it happens simultaneously. When we use the dimension, we kind of think that there is the boundaries, right? There is boundaries, but it happens simultaneously. So with Kathy's very brilliant summarize in English, that's very good. That's very close to what I'm saying right now. But there's assumption that there's a way to take. There's the ramifications of big road, and then we will take either way. I think what I'm trying to say is there's no such a thing as a way anymore. It's just field. So I think Katie's summarize is the best I can come up with after talking to many English native people, and that's perfectly right. I feel something missing still, and I don't think we can add anything to Katie's definition. How do you spell the Japanese word for purpose? In this context, in today's context, just let me. It's not like A to A. 目的 is probably the word for, if you Google, what is the purpose in Google translation, you'll get 目的. And probably we can use that word for today's context, but it's the reason I don't really answer that question right away is that it's again not. I don't feel comfortable saying that's the answer. So, this is the Japanese. I will talk about very challenging topic, but there are few books. We call it Kojiki and Nihon Shoki. The books that described how Japan was created. Created, right? And I don't know if there translation for that, but there are many kinds of God or spirit comes into that book, and there's sometimes the spirit of the sun, and there's sometimes spirit of the land. My point is that when they make those definition, which is what, they always try to make something in between. So they make three gods, and there's always somebody in between, and those in between have almost no purpose to be there. So they care about in between. So it's not like dualism of A or B. There's something in between, and it's not a mix of A or B. It's really somewhere. There is not one or the other. There's only both. That's very close. I think but that both is not only both. There's something. It's very inclusive. See, I'm getting confused because I'm thinking in English. You can use something like, I think that's Sashiko for spiritual purpose, even if we don't have a practical, concrete purpose. You can use something like Sashiko for spiritual purpose, even if we don't have a practical, concrete purpose. But still, we're adding the concept of purpose. I was talking about the Western having a very focus on one concept of like practical, concrete, and purpose-oriented stitching, right? That's the beginning of this conversation, beginning of this talk. And as the result, yes, I was talking about the importance of focusing on the spiritual purpose, but I would like to mention that there's another layer, that there's no purpose, but it carries both purpose all together. Oh, kitsu. I'm trying to explain something that you have never eaten before. But I mean, the point is, please try to not to understand what I'm saying, because I don't even understand logically. This is not something we can say, oh, I got it, I understand that, or this is not something I can fully explain by word, and then you'll get the whole picture by just reading it. That's why it's very difficult. Once you understand, we can get close to that, as we can get as close to as possible to get that essence, but word or even talking itself will not. No, it's not gonna bring us together there. Only way to do it is actually practice. That's what Zen teaches to begin with. There's no such a thing as the understanding Zen without even practicing that. That's why I don't like the word Zen stitching, because what do they know about that? Zen's principle is the Furyumonji, which means that no word can explain the full picture of Zen. So you gotta practice that before even discussing about it. And that's very fundamental of Zen. And the goal is to go ahead. The goal here is not to understand what I'm trying to say. And my goal shouldn't be to explain the meaning, but I would like to try my best because that's the whole point of this live streaming. Like, it's much easier if I say like, well, please practice Sashiko the way we practice, and then you'll get that one day. That's probably the solution if we have to talk about solution, but that's not. I don't feel that I take my responsibility well. So as the result, I'm trying my best to. I'm not doing good, but do my best. This is my life goal, lifetime achievement. If I can do this, it's my lifetime achievement. I cannot explain that to my wife. I cannot explain that to anybody else in English. I can, for some reason, explain that in Japanese. But I don't know if they understand it, though. I think I can explain this feeling in Japanese, but I don't know if they understand it as an audience. Some probably will, but some may not, because that requires a lot of common sense as the preparation or expectations, like as the ritual or mindset. We don't doubt why we pray in the shrine. Believe or not, either I believe it or not, or either he believes or not, of the spirit, it is our common sense, it's our common expectation to follow a specific process when we visit the shrine. And it's not really the religion, it's not belief, it's just manner or even courtesy to be part of that culture. And it's important to follow those, and it's important to explain that, but at the same time, it is more like part of the practice, part of the ritual, part of what action, not the explanation. Were you a philosophy major by any chance? I was in business major, finance and human resource, so it's opposite of the philosophy. And to be honest, I don't like philosophy. It's probably sort of the philosophy thing, but I really feel bad, but I cannot compare what I'm saying in philosophy because I don't read that. I know the basic, and I know famous people like Heidegger. I don't even want to talk about it because I will probably make a big hole and I will drop into that. It's not it might be philosophy, but I'll do my best. Give me some time. All we like that you do what I'll do. Sorry. Hi, all. We like that you do what you true to Sashiko in your understanding. It's very refreshing. We're used to quick, shallow thinking. It's a welcoming change. Yeah, thank you. So bear with me. bear with me. One day I may be able to explain that. Meanwhile, please keep stitching. Stitching will probably give you the answer for that. None of us wants to wear the same thing every day, let alone only one solid color. To change the fabric somehow with paint of thread or shaping to make it special for the ones we love. It's your own philosophy, so it can be personal to you. That's very true. At the same time, I think I can explain and have a sympathy, or I think I can really explain that in Japanese. So, and this is very unfortunate that I cannot explain how we understand that each other in English, and I do not expect you to. It's not. It's my responsibility to be able to come up with some explanation because you are interested in what we are saying. So I really would like to explain that in the language you understand. It is easy to say that you have to learn Japanese. You will get it when you learn Japanese. It's probably true. Like if you live in Japan for 20 years, you will get it. That's probably the answer many people have given, and that's probably the answer or solution. But that's kind of negligence, in my opinion. This is my opinion, not the feeling. So that's why I would like to really try my best. Well, one day we will know, yes. That's like we don't even have to talk about those things. Like those questions will probably won't happen. I'm not saying the question about what I'm making or what is the purpose of doing is wrong or bad. It's very, very normal, and I actually appreciate asking me that question because we can develop this conversation this far. But it is my goal to, actually it's Maiko-san's goal too, to make that awareness happen without you going to Japan or living in Japan. Going to Japan might help, but you will be the guest. You won't be the part of Japanese culture when you go to Japan unless you live there. So going there as a tour is very, very good experience, and it's gonna be fun. But that's a little different, and that's okay. Again, like going there as a tour is a very good experience. But what I'd like to do is a little more than that, and I think Maiko-san's dream is doing that too. We as a Japanese tend to minimize what we believe in or what we are proud of. Not proud of. The Japanese tend to minimize what we believe in, what we feel normal, what we even think, feel right, feel natural. We try to adjust that to the Western mindset. That has been happening last 200 years. We look West. We want to be like Western people. And as the result, we very much minimize, and I have minimized my feelings so many times by now. And I'm part of that. But that's not what you as audience are looking for. I know that like you don't want me to talk about something modified for you to listen to feel comfortable or to analogy, like you're here to eat Japanese sushi, not the sushi you can eat in the US. You can go to other places for that sushi, and you know. So that's what I'm trying to do, I guess. Do you talk about this stuff in your Japanese live streaming? Yeah, I do. Maybe some of those folks can help you articulate what you're trying to say. Maybe, maybe, but they don't speak English. That's the problem. They don't speak English. I may be the one who is the most fluent in English in that group. So that's the problem. Something is making noise. So, but I want to understand the goal is not to fully explain so that you can understand it. What I would like to do is to explain so that we can try to get closer there. I am sure yourself and Michael-san together will be able to clarify more of what you're trying to communicate. Thank you. It's it. That's why we decided to start that gathering every month. It's gonna take some time, but every month we talk about those kind of. It does not have to be this kind of philosophical thing. It can be more cultural topic, but it has to be sort of two direction. I mean, it has to be a discussion, not like one direction. I learn more about the person when I sit together doing a common everyday activities, working together. Yes. So, wow. I don't like this sound, squeaky sound. Well, the summary is that please don't take as please don't just like there's no such a thing as wrong in Sashiko, right? So there's all the information shared in English is correct. There's no such a thing as bad or wrong information. But don't trust them 100%. There's so much more than that. And that's not because somebody would like to keep it secret. That's because it's something we cannot really explain that in English. Unfortunately, at this moment. And if there are anybody who explain that in English, I would like to hear that. And I'm trying to read as much as I can, but I have not met that yet. Well, that's another reason I think that the translator will never lose their job. The Google translation and those DeepL will replace many translating job, but the actual translator does not really translate. Like they don't really replace the word in different language. They really add the cultural difference into the communication. So, those who do not have a much experience in translating may lose their job, but those who are like genius or very professional one, they will never lose their job. It's very risky to have some like machine to do so when there's a too big cultural difference. What is making so much noise? Eh? But anyway, this live streaming is, yes, it is for me to figure it out, but it's more of me talking about Sashiko stitching. So I apologize for jumping into those philosophical thoughts. It can be boring, and I do not like that. They are better. I think there are better stories, more entertaining stories than this. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity to think about it and talk about it. It's my lifetime mission to achieve it. Do you think the Japanese people traditionally are more humble about what they do, so less likely to discuss it? It's not humble. It's shame. Being extraordinary in our culture is bad in general. So having opinion itself is kind of bad. You don't want to have opinion in our culture, traditionally speaking. Not like right now, but let's say that I live in a small village. If I have an opinion for those people who, like the small government of that village, if I have an opinion and if I say that out loud, no good. No good. It's not a humble, it's just the way to survive in those small community. And since we live in that kind of small community ever since we're born, we are trained, we're brainwashed that what we think are already shameful to even share. Ah, so it's kind of that's another reason that Sashiko's informations are not available in so many places. It may be a little too big of saying, it may be a little bit of exaggeration, but if it is already spoken, if it's already written, that might not be the true feeling, true saying of their feeling. For that, I'm extremely privileged because I was inside of that circle. I am very much inside of a circle, so they talk to me about those stories without even feeling those risk. And this is not my story, and I got trained, I got education in the US, so things are changing little by little in my understanding. At the same time, I do have those stories, and I think it's okay to share those stories when I say it's anonymous. I don't say names, right? I purposefully do not use the name of my Sashiko artisans to be respectful. I don't think they wanna be mentioned in any of my stories. They might be upset. They probably will be upset. Most definitely be upset. So, do you see that changing over time? Yeah, yes. Um, we're talking about the people like 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Of course, it changes over time, but deep down, we still have that. Deep down, we still have that. I did not see this until I come to the US. That's the scary part. We can really realize that when we can compare that. In fact, I did not realize this until my wife pointed out after many, many fights. I did not even realize it was a problem or even the cause of problems. And, well, it is changing. I see it's changing, but it's still absolutely there. It's it looks like humble. It's like they're being humble, and they are being humble, but at the same time, there's something negative behind that humbleness. It's just not being humble. It's more negative. Well, please read. If you are very much interested in this topic, the first thing we have to do is to have the same information about some novels. But at the same time, it's challenging for us to talk about several novels. Like fiction is fine. Um, After you read that in English and me reading that in Japanese. So I will read that in English to sort of be on the same page. But what I am talking right now exists in the orally, which we might not have today. So it's extraordinarily challenging. But I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up. That's the whole point. As long as there are people who think that they know everything about Sashiko, I cannot stop doing this. Good news about Sashiko being trend is that I would never dreamed of doing this in my life. Like stitching, yes, probably, but talking about this Japanese cultural things, no. To be honest, I don't feel comfortable, but I gotta do it. Because many people will think that there is answer and then jump into that. Ah. Well, I'm sorry. This is not the theme I brought today. What was the theme I brought today? So many hands from two, and like this was not the things I was talking about. This I was going to talk about the hands. So I'm not doing this because of I'm not doing it only for myself. It is for the many hands I have met so far ever since I was born in last 39 years. And I used to hate them, I used to despise them, I used to be running away from those. But they are the reason I'm here. And today, as my birthday, it's the time to celebrate them, not me. And I humbly accept your happy birthday comment and thank you so much. But again, today is the day to thank those, appreciate those people, and I hope that I can pass it down to the next generation, which is actually you. It doesn't have to be younger or something. It's just somebody who are joining this, not those who try to make money out of it without. I'm mumbling right now, but like I'm okay with interpretation. I'm okay with interpretation. I'm okay with exaggeration. I'm okay with those things. We do that. We make the story more dramatic. We can interpret the stories in different way. We can make the things more bigger than what it is, or more beautiful than what it is, or smaller. We can modify things, and we all do that in our memories. But saying something completely false is bad. And I'm very much disappointed in that. Somebody told me that, my good friend told me that there's a big lie in some of the people saying about Sashiko, and that's really, really, really disgusting. It's just disgusting. I'm just very much, hey. So, oh, happy birthday to you almost, to Lori. like lie, intentional lie is bad. Like it's almost like me saying that, I always said that I was born in Sashiko family, right? What if that's a lie? That's bad, right? I'm deceiving everybody here. Everybody who learns Sashiko from me. That's bad. But there are people doing that because nobody will find out. That's just not okay. And well, by the way, I'm not gonna even, this is the whole. I do not specify who or what. That's not my goal here. But in order to protect yourself from those unfortunate thing, or even for me, it's the disgusting thing. If you are going to learn Sashiko from somebody else, ask, and if they're Japanese, well, even if they're Japanese, ask who taught them, who they learned Sashiko from. That will explain a lot. So, and that will protect the culture as well too. And if you find somebody kind of lying, you might want to avoid that. You might want to take a distance from them, even no matter how famous they are. I mean, exaggeration is okay. I sometimes exaggerate stories, I guess, because that is in my memory. So I have to sometimes, make it more understandable, make it more interesting, which I probably don't do often. But lying, well, I don't lie. Well, that might be a lie, but in this live streaming, I try to not to exaggerate. I try to not to lie, not because I am an honest person, because I don't have a short time memory, or I don't have even long time memory after my daughter. I forget a lot of things. I forget what I ate 2 days ago. I keep forgetting things. And I just realized that if I make one exaggeration or one lie, I have to memorize that lie, right? I'm not that smart. Like, let's say that I make a lie that, let's say I'm single. Let's say I'm not single, but let's say I make a lie that I'm single. I have to memorize that lie to every time I talk about things, right? Let's say I exaggerated that I am 25 years old, which is not true, but that's a kind of little exaggeration in my understanding. Like changing the age a bit younger or a bit older is a little exaggeration. It's really not the bad lie, it's a kind of white lie. So that exaggeration, I have to remember that exaggeration. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult to continue the conversation, especially if I'm going to offer this live streaming every Thursday for another 10 years. That's a very, very big risk. And if I make one small lie, I have to keep lying about that lie. As the result, it's going to be a series of lies that I cannot even remember what was the beginning. It's scary. So, as the result, because I don't trust myself memorizing all of those, I just don't do that, especially about Sashiko. It's like it's just one contradiction can bring a lots of problem, and I just don't do that. I lie a lot in my family because that might be a good. Like my wife asking me, like, did you eat that? Like, no, I did not give her the candy today. That's a huge lie, but she asked nicely, so So that's the lie that I don't mind being revealed because I'm in trouble anyway. So I can say, well, that was a lie. There are some lies that shouldn't be revealed. That's the issue. Then you have to keep track on that. Keeping up with the lies is the hardest part. Yes, that's my whole point. And I used to be smart, I guess, like that. You think? I don't remember how I was doing that, but at my age right now, I cannot do that. Anyway, I will complete today's live streaming after this thread. Thank you so much for listening to today's almost meaningless yet meaningful philosophical but not yet philosophical conversation. See, this is what I'm talking about. Meaningful yet not meaningful. Philosophical yet not philosophical. That's bad. That's very confusing. That's not the way we talk in English. That's not the way we communicate in this language. But that's what I wanted to do today. That's what I did today, for that matter. Wait. One day, you will help me out. One day. It's just seeing, like looking at it, but not looking at it. Hearing it, but not hearing it. Reading it, but not reading at it. Stitching, but not stitching. That's kind of Zen dialogue, but I think Zen dialogue might be beneath of those. Uh-oh. Well, if you have any, I'm sorry, if you're watching this, as the the archive, please leave the comments if you have any specific topic to talk about. So I will be able to bring that for the next time. If not, I hope you can enjoy stitching. I will talk about supplies, or like it's about time to talk about supplies and fabric. I guess I often, many people come to Sashiko and they enjoy it for a few months or a few years, and then majority of the people leave from Sashiko, and that's how it's supposed to. I mean, nobody should. If you keep doing Sashiko for more than 10 years, that's a little scary. It's good, and I'm really respecting that. But 10 years, 20 years without the cultural background is a little scary. I think that those people should or can or may mix the Sashiko with what they have. So I usually feel more natural when they sort of leave the Sashiko per se and then start doing something else. But the market does not shrink because many new people are coming into the market. So there's a circulation. New people come in, some people leave, and very, very core, very unique people will reside inside of that. So I have to sort of talk about the basic things. Occasionally, and that's about it now. Thread matters, fabric is, well, any fabric is okay, but there are some specific preference for that. Ah. And lastly, I forgot about it. Well, I will probably mention that toward the end. On the surface, it may seem like there is nothing said, but to me, it is at the very least an hour to sit, think and communicate, and that is very agreeable. Thank you. So, ideally, probably in the future, in the dream world, I kind of dream about this live streaming might be completely soundless. I may not really talk at all for, let's say, 1 hour from 9 to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And then I summarize what we think or what we shared without even talking about it. Like connecting psychokinesis. I don't want to say psychokinesis, but sharing some of the moment even without a word. And then feel something, learn something. And that sounds very creepy. That's very creepy, but that's probably the vision I have. I tend to run away from the feeling to the word. I kind of trust the power of story, and I really depend on my feeling into the stories to express. But sometimes there are feelings we do not even need a story or explanation, and that is something we have to sort of understand and articulate for that matter. So in the ideal future, this might be the channel I stitch without any, like, at least for 1 hour, like stitching together. And but the point is that spending the same time together doesn't matter where you are. Knowing that somebody is stitching somewhere in the same moment, in the same age, with sharing the similar concept, similar understanding of what we do, is probably the key to pass it down. And internet destroyed many part of Sashiko, but at the same time, internet might be the savior for this. Let's see. And I cannot do this by myself, and I shouldn't be doing this by myself. Well, if I were by myself, if you were not here, I wouldn't be even doing this. So I really appreciate you being here and be part of this. If I will, I may freak you out, but that's a big consciousness somewhere. I don't want to say something great because it's gonna go to somewhere else, but something like reaching to. I don't want to say Akashic record because again it's gonna go to somewhere else, but we're kind of reaching to something together from each place. That's getting a little too spiritual. I don't like that. I don't like that. Too spiritual is sometimes too dangerous, so I don't want to go there too much. I want to keep the balance. I think I can talk about those things probably better than talking about Sashiko, but that's probably not the way I should take. Yes, so Divian's comment is very much the summary of today's hour and a half. Glad that we're here together. That's it. Although I really enjoy the opportunity to think about Sashiko from sort of philosophical perspective. And I will keep doing that. I will keep doing that, but so when I say please learn, Sashiko, it's not really about learning, definition. It would be great if you listen to my stories and read my stories, but that's not it. It's you talking to yourself within, like, it's you kind of finding what is comfortable, what is natural to you with getting a lot of information. After getting a lot of information, I want you to sit down and facing to yourself, and then start feeling, start going through what is natural to you with the information you know. Like, is this natural? Is this what? This doesn't sound natural. It's too fake, too easy, too artificial, too something. So those are the hopes I do. Okay. Pops, and then I will go to sleep. This is not the beer, I don't drink, so no judging. Wait. Ooh, I was always here today. Oops. Wait, was this camera always on? Did I share something bad? I hope there was nothing on the screen. I usually turn off this light. Not a light, turn off this camera. I have a Sunday Zoom with friends I know from hand spinning guild. We often go long stretches of no one talking while we each work on our own project. Yeah, that's the thing that we like to do. At the same time, I would like to share stories. So that's like a future, and like gathering, Sashiko gathering we might offer might be one of those things like that. Anyway, thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko live streaming. As always, if you could click or tap the good button, that would be very much helpful. I would like to keep this channel healthy, so they will not do something. Like, Google does not do anything for that. I always get one negative feedback, either bot or somebody who loves me so much. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's gonna help me to have that good button. I think it's a bot. Like, it's getting a little too creepy. If that's the person, that's really bad. He or she really likes me for that. Anyway, I hope you have a good night. I will come back next Thursday, the same time. To be honest, like, some theme will be nice. Well, I will bring something, but I will always sleep around. So I hope you can come back with your own stitching and enjoy 1 hour. All right. Thank you so much, and